Good morning. I am Disciple Burns, and this is my daily drink for October 26th. Excuse me. Working on our series called Priorities of Faith, and we're down to a good one today. Hope y'all are ready for this one. I'm going to recap real quick. Series started off, first priority was prayer. Prayer was a good one. Second priority was focus. Do you keep your focus on God and on the goals He set before you? Today's priority is rest. Who doesn't like a little rest, right? It's pretty funny. Last night my wife asked me, she goes, "You're wired differently." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Your brain is going 100 miles an hour, constantly thinking about something. And when it doesn't, you shut down. You just pass out and go to sleep." I'm like, yeah, that's the way it works. So, for me, I realized it's kind of like, why? Why is that? Why do I have to constantly be working on something in my brain? I don't have to be physically working on something, but I'm always mentally working on something. I can't just rest. Is it the way I'm wired? Years of training? Whatever. I don't know. But it is what it is. But what I want to talk to you today about is finding that balance of work and rest. Too many times in today's society, and I'm guilty of it as well, I see people who work, all for a job, only to leave that job and go home and work for pleasure, for income, whatever the for might be, but they're constantly working. They're never resting. And it's for me, it's kind of hard to find that balance. Do you have trouble finding that balance of work, whether it be for employment work or for things that have to be done around the house, chores, projects you've picked up, hobbies? Are you working or are you actually resting? So I want to cover some aspects of rest today so that you understand what the Bible says about rest. Okay? And this from one of my devotionals today, that had this line, and it kind of struck me, so I wanted to read it to y'all. It says, "Work is necessary, but the key is finding that balance. If we are putting more value and more focus on our work than anything else, this includes worshiping God, then work has become an idol in our lives." Is work an idol in your life? Ask yourself. Now, let's jump in these aspects, okay? Aspects of rest, what are they? First one, God rested. God Himself rested. Yeah, I know. You probably know this. Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 and 3. Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 and 3. "So the creation of heavens and earth and everything in them was completed." This is when God made everything, right? "On the seventh day, God had finished His work of creation, so He rested from all His work. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy." Why? "Because it was a day when He rested from His work of creation." He rested. He blessed it. God blessed a day for nothing more than rest. Think about that. God has blessed a day for nothing more than rest. When He finished His project, He rested. How many times do we as humans finish a project? We got a project, say we got this we've got to get done today. I got to mow the yard. And when I mow the yard, do I rest? Do I take a few minutes and go, good job? Or do I go, next? What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? If you never rest, you never get the glory of satisfaction, even if it's a small one. God rested. Not only that, he blessed an entire day devoted to rest. Okay? So, God rested. Second one, God commands that you rest. Yeah, he actually tells you to do it. Exodus 20, verses 8 through 11. This one's a little long, so I'm going to read it here. Exodus 20, verse 8 through 11. Remember to observe the Sabbath by keeping it holy. Now, how do we keep it holy? How do we observe the Sabbath? You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath day of rest dedicated to the Lord. A Sabbath day of rest dedicated to the Lord. On that day, no one in your household may do any work. This includes you, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, your livestock, any foreigners living among you. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and everything in them. But on the seventh day he rested. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy. He rested on the seventh day. And for you to keep the Sabbath day holy, you are to be resting, dedicating to the Lord your God. Did you ever think about that? I mean, too many times in society today, we get up and we're like, it's a Sabbath day. We got to go to church. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to. It's supposed to be a day of rest dedicated to the Lord. So yes, get up, go worship, be renewed in the Spirit. But are you resting? Or are you just postponing what you have to get done that day? Have you turned the Sabbath into a day of work for yourself? God commands rest. Ask yourself that. Third one, rest without guilt. Too many times I see people, they're like, well, I got all this I got to get done, but, I really need to rest, but I got to get all this done. I have to get this done. I have to get this done. And they feel guilty for putting off some work they have to do because they're resting. If it's the Sabbath, let's just, hold on. Let's jump. Mark chapter 2. Mark chapter 2, verse 27 and 28. He says this. Jesus said to them, the Sabbath was made to meet the needs of the people, and not people to meet the requirements of the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even over the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made to meet the needs of the people. If God rested, if God commands you to rest, and here God's telling you that the Sabbath was created to meet your needs, why would you feel guilty about it? You were given the day of rest as a gift. Enjoy it. You should enjoy the Sabbath. You should enjoy the day of rest, not feel guilty about it. You're doing by resting and relaxing and taking a break from work, you're opening your mind. And if done properly, you will focus on the Lord, rejuvenating your spirit, rejuvenating your drive, your will to jump back into work. God rested. God commanded that you should rest, and God gave you the Sabbath that you could do so guilt-free as a gift. And we as a society have turned it into a day of work, which is overloading us. way more than we should be. But the last one, I've kind of jumped on it, I've touched on it a couple times. The last one, what does rest do? Rest refocuses. Rest rejuvenates not only you physically, mentally, spiritually as well. Matthew chapter 11. Matthew 11, 28 through 30 says this. Jesus said to them, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give is light." Do you, on your day of rest, on the Sabbath, do you cast your troubles and cares to the Lord? Do you spend that day basking in His glory? Kind of like I said earlier, do you go to church service at your church or at a local church or at a church that when you're traveling, at a church you're going to, or even if you are in the process of traveling, do you tune the radio, your phone, whatever, to a church service and bask in His presence? Spend time worshiping Him, listening to the speaker, the word that's coming over, and just be in God's glory for the day. Don't worry about everything else. Lay it at the feet of Jesus. I heard a story the other day. The guy said he had a trouble tree. I forgot the whole story, but he had a trouble tree. And we'd come home from work, he'd touch the tree and go on in. And the next day he'd come back out and touch the tree and walk off. And somebody noticed this. They said, "What are you doing that for?" And he said, "That's my trouble tree. When I come home from work, I hang my troubles on the tree. And when I leave, I pick them back up, because my troubles from work don't belong in the house." And the funny thing is, every morning when I pick those troubles back up, they sure seem a lot lighter. Your day of work rest should be the same way. You should lay your troubles at the feet of Jesus, pray over them, spend time worshiping, glorying in Him, refocusing your spiritual aptitude to God. And I guarantee you, your worries, your concerns, your troubles, your path that you're losing focus on will be clearer, will be lighter when you pick it back up. Although we're not supposed to pick things up after we lay it at the foot of Jesus, but we all do it. Just saying. So, that's my daily drink for today. Rest. Are you getting it? Or are you putting it aside? Now, please notice, rest does not mean taking a nap. You need to have physical rest, don't get me wrong. The rest I'm talking about here is a mental rest, a spiritual relaxation. Physical, spiritual, mental, all of it. Relaxation. God rested. God commands you to rest. God told you to do it, so it's guilt-free. He gave you a full day as a gift to rest. And it helps refocus you on God's mission in your life. You need to rest for the Lord. Keep the Sabbath holy by resting and worshiping Him. That's my daily drink for today. Y'all be blessed. We'll see you tomorrow.